What's up, everybody? Welcome to VF86 TV, and this is your host and video creator, ViperX. Just wanted to take some time with you folks here, talk about this channel's biggest project, The Lost City of America. There's a pretty long and storied history behind the creation of this documentary film, and now that we're about to release the third and final version of it, I thought that now would be a good time to give you that backstory on how we created this whole thing, where the idea came from, and of course, what to expect from this definitive edition release. So the way it started was I was a live streamer for a very long time, now it seems. I started streaming in late 2016 or early 2016, can't really remember, but it was on Twitch. And then I moved over to Facebook, and then Facebook Gaming came out, and I set my roots in. I had my own channel, and I was also managing another streaming channel that I streamed for as well. But one thing that stayed consistent between my work on both channels was my love for Resident Evil. Now, not only did I stream those games because I know those games really well and can play them really well, but I also know the lore and the story behind those games really well. Typically, what would happen is a game stream of mine with Resident Evil would very much so turn into me explaining the lore behind the games. So all of that explaining turned into an idea of doing a themed stream event each year. So when September would roll around, Viper's Fury 86 Gaming, as it was called at the time, would do a themed event called the Raccoon City Chronicles. And we did that for about 7 years in a row. And basically all the Raccoon City Chronicles was me playing Resident Evils 2, 3, Outbreak, and Outbreak File 2 on the days in September that they took place within the Resident Evil 1998 timeline. So September 24th, we would play whatever scenarios from Outbreak took place, and then we'd keep going until we reach Resident Evils 2 and 3, and then Outbreak File 2, and then we'd wrap it all up on October 1st. And to accompany that stream, I had created videos that I called filler videos that would play in between me playing the games and scenarios to explain some of the backstory stuff that was going on in Raccoon City. When the Resident Evil series was first created, they weren't really hedging their bets on any sequels. So when it did come time for them to create sequels, they tried to tie the new game into the previous one, but that was very plot hole-ish. There was a lot of holes in everything regarding the story. And another big thing that happens with the Resident Evil games that I find to be, even still to this day, a problem, so to speak, is that a lot of players don't read the files that are in the game. And those files actually happen to be the place where there is a lot of lore, a lot of backstory to what's going on in the game that you're playing regarding the setting and characters, and maybe even lesser known characters. And the original Resident Evil games, 1, 2, and 3, and Outbreak File 2, are extremely guilty of having very detailed files that if you didn't read any of that stuff, there was a ton of backstory that you missed out on. So when 2002 hits and they rewrite the Resident Evil lore to go with the remake of the first game, this fills in all of those plot holes, and now Raccoon City and everything around Raccoon City, the entirety of Arklay County gets this big massive backstory with all of this lore and this history, and then in the midst of all of the games happening, there is a whole bunch of stuff happening in the background as well, too. Those filler videos basically explained all of that stuff between the gameplay. And at some point, maybe around the 6th or 7th annual event that we did, that's when I realized, I was like, you know, I could take all of these filler videos that I'm doing, slap them all together, and create a pre-recorded video that people can watch. So at the time, I wasn't really as big into video editing because I was doing a lot when it came to streaming, but I decided to try my hand in it. And I had already dipped into it a little bit. If you go back into the videos of this channel, you'll find stuff had been uploaded on here since as early as 2015. So I took all of those filler videos and I slapped them together, and I put text up on the screen that you could read with it. And this is what became the first version of The Lost City of America, which once again, it was not voice narrated or anything like that. It was just a lot of images and video game clips from all of the aforementioned games, Resident Evil 2, 3, Outbreak, and Outbreak File 2, putting all 4 of those games together in a cohesive manner for you in video format. And it included the gameplay as well too. So instead of you waiting for me to do an annual event to show that stuff live, that's where the idea of that video had come from. Now, this was something that my viewers could watch all year long until we got to the next annual event. Somewhere around the time that Resident Evil 2 Remake came out is when I decided to take that first version of the Lost City of America, and now I wanted to add voice to it. I wanted to add more video to it and such as well. My editing capabilities slowly increased as time went on. I started really delving into video editing, making music videos, compilations of gameplay with me and my friends when we would do our streams. So now I felt it was time to take that first version of the Lost City and turn it into something that everyone could really dig their fingers into, like something really, really juicy when it came to Resident Evil lore. And while I'm doing all of the research to do the voice acting, I'm basically writing a script as I go. And I'm reading the canon, timeline, and lore for the original Resident Evil games and trying to flesh that all out into a cohesive script and story. And while I was doing that, that's where I was like, well, maybe we could do a fan fiction of this and make this documentary, this video, be something that could exist within the Resident Evil universe. How do we do that? Well, that's easy. Within the Resident Evil universe, the truth behind Raccoon City and its destruction, as we say in the documentary, was hidden from the public for a very long time. I think it actually, the government hid everything, including the T-virus, and the truth behind what the T-virus could do to people. They hid that from the public. Like even still up to the point of the events of Resident Evil 7, you had people that would reminisce about the Raccoon City destruction incident and bring up all of the quote-unquote conspiracy theories surrounding the whole thing. So as far as the Resident Evil lore is concerned, there's still a lot of mystery in the eyes of the public. So these people who had survived the Raccoon City destruction incident, they decide later on in life that they are going to take advantage of the fact that the Umbrella Archives had been released to the public. And the Umbrella Archives is all of the information and details and data regarding the trials that happened against Umbrella. These folks take that stuff and decide to make a documentary about it to expose all of the information about the Raccoon City destruction incident that was hidden from the public. So if you're in the Resident Evil universe, the information that's in this documentary is groundbreaking and something you have not seen it in this depth, even throughout the trials and afterwards as well too. Figuring this would be something that would probably get the makers of this video killed if they were in that universe, because we all know that the legacy of Umbrella is not finished with. And that's where I decided to make this thing look a little bit more like a true crime documentary. Once again, an expose, something that you would imagine should have been shown on TV but never got to be shown on TV. And the backstory regarding the fan fiction for this documentary is still something that I would like to put out on video, but we're going to get this project done first. So now that brings us here to the documentary that you have currently on YouTube, which is The Lost City of America, the 2022 version. That's the second version of the documentary. And that is the one that really brings my vision of it being a true crime in the universe of Resident Evil piece of work to the forefront. But still, there are still things about it that I felt needed to be fixed. Now, first and foremost, when I made that documentary, it was at the time that Resident Evil 2 Remake had just come out, and Resident Evil 7 was still relatively new, and I hadn't played Resident Evil 7 yet. So the documentary does not include things that were added to the lore regarding Resident Evil 7. And Resident Evil 8 had not come out yet, so the links between Spencer and Miranda, that had not been created yet either. So as time went on, after the Lost City of America 2022 was released, I found out about all that stuff and decided, you know what, that's got to go in there. That's now part of the backstory. It's part of the history of Umbrella, so it's important. That's an example of one of the changes that you're going to find in the definitive edition that's coming. The entire project itself has been one of the most successful projects that I have worked on. And if you take a look at it by numbers on YouTube, it is one of the highest viewed, if not the highest viewed piece of fan fiction work regarding Resident Evil on YouTube. And that's talking about part 1. Part 2 doesn't have nearly as many views, and I understand why. So that brings me to the other big reason why I decided to take this documentary and do a definitive edition of it. What I want now is to take part 2 and make it look more like part 1, to keep that true crime format. Because right now, as it stands, part 1 of the documentary is more true crime format, and part 2 still has some true crime aspects to it, documentary style aspects, but it's more of a cinematic overview of the events of the video games. Kind of what I tried to do with the Raccoon City Chronicles streams, but now in a more cinematic form for long form video viewing. So, but when you look at the Lost City of America in regards to views, part 1 has way more views than part 2. And then when you scan through the comments, you find out that people would have preferred to have seen part 2 done in the same format as part 1. So I guess I kind of got, a little bit ahead of myself. I wanted it to be a documentary, but I wanted it to give everybody a little bit of something. And even though part 2 still got praise, and the entire project got praise altogether, I feel like there should be a consistency between the two. And at the time, I was kind of limited in my video editing abilities and the program that I was using. But time goes on. Now I have the tools and the vision that I need to make the Lost City of America look and feel the way that I wanted it to look and feel when I very, very, very first started doing the Raccoon City Chronicles. So, on October 1st, 2025, we are going to release the Lost City of America, the definitive edition. This is going to be the third and final version of the Lost City of America, and it is going to basically wrap up the Lost City of America chapter for this channel. And what I mean by that is I have focused on this for a long time, and I feel like I could continue to focus on this for a long time. If the Lost City of America teaches you anything, it is that there is a massive, 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 huge backstory to Raccoon City. And the documentary touches on the points that are the most important, and it touches on some stuff that isn't as important. It's just to give you context. But let me tell you something. There is still a lot of stuff that this documentary does not touch on. I could, no exaggeration, make Raccoon City-based Resident Evil content for years to come. I'm telling you. And that's what the Lost City Files is. The Lost City Files is the sister series to the documentary. And the Lost City Files was really, once I got my new video editor and started learning professional video editing tricks and such, that's why I decided to make the Lost City Files. Because I was like, let's take the stuff that people love about part 1, the true crime stuff, and make a series about some of those lesser known details that the documentary didn't really get so much into. So, but now, making the definitive edition, me wanting to take out that video game footage that makes up part 2 and add true crime documentary style formatting to it, that's where the Lost City Files comes in. So the definitive edition that you're about to get is going to be a combination of the documentary that currently exists, and it's going to be parts of the Lost City Files, all put together into one little neat package for you. So it's not going to be like watching the Lost City Files series over again, but snippets from each one of the episodes that pertain to us explaining the Raccoon City timeline, that's getting put into the documentary, on top of some of the old footage as well, keeping all the format the same. A lot of the old narration is going to be in there, but I have re-recorded some of that narration, and I've also recorded new segments as well. And the old narration that's there, I've taken that and kind of given that a little revamp so that it sounds better and such, and is all consistent and whatnot. One thing I'd like to take note of is that I read the comments to both part 1 and part 2 of the Lost City of America, and I took everything into account. People, criticisms on sound, what they saw, what they heard, information that we might have gotten wrong, information that we might have missed. Took good notes, and this is going to be the correction of that. So also what you can expect with this, on top of all of the voice acting, revamping, and additions, you can expect there to be new music. There's going to be new video that's going to be put in that is in the format of using stock footage and old VHS, CRT TV type stuff, along with special effects that keep that consistent VHS look throughout the whole thing. Keep in mind, if we are using any real footage, it's supposed to look like it's from 1998. So where I couldn't find footage from 1998, I took footage from more modern day and worked it over with some special effects. Thank you, Stephen McFarlane's special effects. I think that's what it's called. That's it'll be in the credits of the videos. Bear with me here. So you're gonna get some new special effects, new video for you guys to watch as well, new segments that pertain to any of the new stuff that's been added to the Raccoon City lore since the time of the release of the original video. And still more to come as well too. But like I said, this basically is going to wrap up our journey through the Lost City of America, in getting ready to do the rest of the Resident Evil series. Keep in mind, we still got Resident Evils 4 through 9 to do, and all of the stuff in between as well. Survivor, Dead Aim, the Revelation series, all of that stuff that happens in between, we're gonna throw that in there as well too. It's gonna be mixed up in between with the main title games. Resident Evil 9 being announced, coming out February of next year, was my green light to get started on the next two. So we're going to have 2 more feature-length Resident Evil true crime-style documentaries that cover the rest of the series, and probably some little episodes in between in a similar fashion to the Lost City Files that will cover those extra games that happen in between as well. Because they are all any games that take place within the canon timeline will get covered in the future in the future videos that come out. And so yeah, that's it. It's time to move on, and the Lost City of America Definitive Edition is going to be that turning point for us here, to where we're going to move on with the rest of the Resident Evil series. If I do decide to do any more work pertaining to Raccoon City, naturally, you guys will be the first ones to know. This is the only place that this stuff is getting uploaded. And like I had said before, The Lost City of America is one of the highest viewed pieces of fan fiction Resident Evil work that's put out on YouTube. And I would like to keep it that way. So do me a big old favor. Make sure that you like and share this video. Make sure you like and share The Lost City of America as it currently is on this channel. And keep your eyes peeled for October 1st, when we release the definitive edition of the video. You can tell all your friends about that too. Drop a subscription here, grab some notifications, that way you know what's going on. And thank you very much for taking interest in this project. Resident Evil is a massive, massive, massive thing to me. It always has been. I started playing Resident Evil in 1998 with the second game. And my real true goal would be to be the person who could make a live action Resident Evil for everyone out there. I just want to put this out there and say, based on what you've seen me do here on this channel with The Lost City of America, I think I have proven that the Raccoon City portion of the lore itself has more than enough content for someone to go and create something really wonderful in the live action world out there. I have an idea for live action for both a TV show and for a set of movies. And they would go to a certain point, and that would be the end of that. They'd stop. Hopefully, if we can get the word out for these videos here, and we can get Capcom's attention, maybe, just maybe. I know this is like a long shot to the moon. Please, oh please, the powers that be, give me the reins. I would love to do this. But until that day comes, we're just gonna have to settle for putting out the videos here on YouTube. And once again, I am super grateful for all of your support by coming in and checking out these videos here and dropping all the love on them that you guys do. And as I will keep doing what I'm doing here, as long as you guys keep enjoying it. So thank you once again, and keep your eyes peeled. October 1st this year, Lost City of America Definitive Edition drops, and I hope you folks will enjoy it. Thank you very much. Have yourselves a great rest of the day or night or morning, wherever it is that you are, whenever it is that you're tuning in. This is your host, Viper X, tuning out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
This is the emergency broadcast system. This is not a test. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the state governor's office. A hazardous material leak has been detected in the western suburban portions of Raccoon City. Evacuations of select neighborhoods are set to begin at 9 a.m. Central Time and are in place for the western portion of Raccoon City. Shelter-in-place order is in effect for the following Art Lake County zones: Raccoon City, District of Cedar, Stoneville, Rose Hill, Old Corner. Stay tuned to all local television and radio broadcasting for further details.
Now, required support for 3 5